ॐ ॐ श्री गणेशाय नमः। ॐ श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रयविनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं। परमानन्दमाधवं परमानन्दमाधवम्। ॐ वाङ्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्म एधि वेदस्य म आणिस्थः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधीतेन अहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि हृदं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्माम् अवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम्। ॐ शान्ति शान्तिः शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यं निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यत् साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयम् तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा जिह्वे पिबस्व मृतमेतदेव गोविन्द दामोदर माधवेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। नारायण 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 नारायण. First of all, I wish all the listeners of our podcast a very, very happy, graceful, and blessed Papa Mochini Ekadashi today. May Bhagwan Narayana, Bhagwan Krishna bless us all to dispense off all our sins we have done in all our lives and make us free and help us grow and cultivate the spiritual knowledge so that we can lead a correct life and reach the final destination of lotus feet of Bhagwan Krishna himself. I'll chant one mantra of Bhagwan Krishna and then we'll continue with our episode. Shri Krishnaya Vasudevaya Hare Paramatmane Pranadakleshanashaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna, Shri Krishna, Shri Krishna. We had left at verse number 24. I've already read the bhashya of that verse, so we'll read the verse first and we'll continue from where we left in the last session. Verse number 24, chapter 3. उत्सीदेयुरिमे लोकाः न कुर्यां कर्म चेदहम् संकरस्य च कर्ता स्याम् उपहन्यामि माः प्रजाः उत्सीदेयुरिमे लोकाः न कुर्यां कर्म चेदहम् संकरस्य च कर्ता स्याम् उपहन्यामि माः प्रजाः. Supreme Consciousness Bhagwan Krishna in the verses 22, 23 and 24 explaining the principle of nourishment of this world or protection of this world, so-called Loka Sangraha. To explain that, Bhagwan gave his own example, his own way of working in this world during his avatar time, during his incarnation time, his own working mechanism as an example to explain the concept of Loka Sangraha or preservation and protection of the world, nourishment of the world. That is what is covered in verse number 22, 23 and 24. The actual meaning of Loka Sangraha, which I already touched base in the last session, I'm just bringing out to recall in your memory. The actual meaning or the actual understanding of nourishment or protection of this world is to help people move away from the wrong path they are walking upon, or motivate people, or what you call that, at motivate people in the sense that to push people, to make people understand that the wrong path they are walking is not going to help them lead anywhere. So helping people move away from the wrong path, which is named by Bhagwan Shankaracharya in his bhashya as Lokasya Unmarga Pravritti Nivaranam, helping more and more people move away from walking the wrong path, move away from their wrong tendencies, move away from their wrong set of behaviors, move away from the wrong set of actions. That is what is Unmarga Pravritti Nivaranam. So that is the actual meaning of the word Loka Sangraha. I've already touched base in last to last verse. The way we understand social service, that is not the correct explanation of the word social service. Real social service is when we help more and more people understand what they are doing wrong and motivate them and push them by giving them the correct understanding to move away from the wrong path they are walking, and let them decide on their own or choose on their own to stop walking that path. And also by way of helping them do that, at promoting walking the correct path, promoting developing correct tendencies, promoting developing and cultivating correct behavior, correct actions. Now just think, if the entire world, everyone takes the onus of correcting their own set of actions, why will not this world become a brilliant place to live? Why will this world not become a peaceful place to live? Why will this world not become a happy place to live? Today, the problem is because there are many walking wrong paths. The people walking correct paths are very few in number, actually. That is the real nature of this word called Loka Sangraha, or nourishment of the world, or protection of the world. Through our reactions to what happens, or the situations which come around us, through our own behavior, our own walking the path, correct path, people should get motivated. Our behavior, our action should help help promote walking the correct path, and help push people to drop the wrong tendencies and wrong path they are walking. So if through our actions, our reactions towards the situation, through our way of acting in the world, if people get motivated, or get pushed to walk the correct path, and give up the wrong paths they are walking, trust me, that motivation is what is actually called real social service. That is how we are helping or promoting nourishment of the society. Now, for Bhagwan, Supreme Consciousness, Bhagwan Krishna, for God Himself, there is nothing in this cosmos. Bhagwan says 3 words. In 3 words, He's putting up all the 14 lokas, so to say. In this entire cosmos, all the 14 lokas put together, all the 14 worlds put together, there is nothing which is not gained or achieved by Bhagwan. Everything belongs to Him already. And there is nothing left to be attained by Him. Usually people act, as I mentioned in the last session also, usually we act because we have achievable or attainable or gainable left in our life. We have things yet left in our life which we need to gain. That is why we work, no? That is what actually motivates us to work. Now, Bhagwan has got nothing of that thing at all. He has no praptavya, nothing he want to gain anymore from any world, so to say. But still, during the period he is here, during his incarnation period, or avatara kal, we call it when Bhagwan can be seen by the physical eyes of people, when he's not incarnated in this world, we cannot see him with the physical eyes. Of course, his presence is always there. You should always remember that. Incarnation of Bhagwan is only him giving or him appearing in a physical form in this world. In a subtle form, he is always available. Or I would use this word, in the subtle form, there is never ever a point in time when Bhagwan is not available in this world. I told you, Sanatan Dharam, we do not have a concept of God sitting in some other loka and managing the world here. He is present with us, in here, around us only, and through us, He is looking through this entire world. He is working through this entire world. So Bhagwan says, I have nothing left to be attained in this world, because everything already belongs to me. But still, during the period of my incarnation, when I am present on this earth, to be viewed physically, to be seen physically by the people, at that time, if I sit doing, if I look like sitting in laziness, doing nothing, and then people who are working also, who are acting also, they will also end up getting this example, and they will drop what they are doing also. So Bhagwan says, I am continuously working. I told you, during the entire period when Bhagwan Krishna is here, I gave you that example in the last session also. Right from the time he is born, he started acting, he started working, he started his action, killed Putana, traveled all the way to, Gokul, Nandgaon, so to say, He went there, you know, gave happiness and bliss to so many people around him, continuously working. He is God. He owns this whole cosmos. Just think of his mercy, his compassion. You see the way he works. In spite of owning this entire creation, there is nothing in this creation which does not belong to him. He chose to become the, the one to take care of the cattle. He became Gopalaka. Gopal, that is why his name became Gopal. He used to take cattle for grazing, used to take care of them, used to protect them from, anything in mishappenings and all those things. He used to nourish, he used to protect them, so to say. And as a Gopalaka, there are instances which are mentioned when Bhagwan is giving, cleaning the cattles, what do you call that, cleaning the cow shed and all those things also. He's, imagine the level at which Bhagwan has showed us to act. He is the master of this whole creation. Now just think the kind of acts he has picked up here. He showed us that there is nothing, no work in this world which is small or big. It completely depends on your attitude towards work. But remember one thing, right from the childhood, Bhagwan was completely free from attachment. Now, one point I really want to highlight, because I mentioned this point of attachment, and Bhagwan himself is telling us throughout this is, his Bhagavad Gita, that be free from attachment, be free from attachment. Now look, when I say that, Bhagwan worked as the cattle, person taking care of the cattle in Vrindavan. Now you see Bhagwan's role over there. He is seen as completely attached to the cattle. He is seen as completely attached to his folks who had played with him and all. He seems to be completely attached to everyone he has come across. But that is how we should act. I told you before also in one of the podcasts, my Guruji used to tell this very profoundly, that remember one thing, Vedant is for your inner understanding, for your inner detachment. But externally, Vedant is not for your action. In the action has to be done in a worldly manner. I'm myself telling you, whether I take the example of Puja Gurudev or whether I take the example of Puja Guruji, both the Gurujis I know of, I'm telling you, whether I take the example of anyone, when I see those people who serve him or are devoted to him, I also see the level of attachment which he shows to them, that I'm attached to you. I'm purposively using that word. And it's not that it's made up or something. No, it's not like that. He acts with complete attachment. I have seen Guruji myself saying that, who's telling some child that you are very dear to me, you are my heart, you're my soul. I have seen that. And it's not that it's a made up thing. That is how they become so perfect in their worldly behavior, in their worldly action, that it is worth replicating. Trust me. I'm telling you, sometimes it seems that they seem to be more attached than worldly people. I'm using and marking and underlining my word, because that's the polished behavior they get. And there is nothing wrong in that. When you act in the world, act like the world. Like, I'm just giving you an example to bring out here. All those actors who act in the movies, in the movies and all, when they act, how do you choose who is the best actor and all? The one who adapts completely to the role they are playing, one who actually personifies to the role, the one who becomes the example of that role. In the same way, just as a movie actor, where those who gain the prizes of good, who get nominated for best acting and all those ones, those who get like that. And now imagine all the gurus who have lived here, all the men of realization, all the great saints had led a life exactly like that. They know this world is a play. You know, enjoy this play in the way, be, I would use the word, they are seen as more worldly than worldly people. But within them, they are completely detached. I said in one of the quotes before also, Puja Gurudev had said this very profoundly in one of his quotes, that remember one thing, you cannot be free from attachment unless and until you move your attachment from the lower to the higher. And for the gurus, what happens is they are so much attached to God, they are so much attached to the self, they are so much devoted to the self. When they act in the world, it is nothing but fulfilling that attachment to God. They see each of us as nothing but the expression of the same God. In the Bangalore satsang, which is coming up, I'm going to give, because satsang is also on Bhagwan Shiva and Mother Parvati. I'm going to bring out that aspect of a guru in that live satsang when it comes in Bangalore next month. So I'm going to talk about that aspect of a guru. Remember one thing, gurus, you will see their love is far greater than all those people who have loved us in our life, who are near and dear to us. Trust me, I'm telling you, their love is unparalleled. And the thing is, the way they express their love, it's worth appreciating. And remember one thing, a love which is free from the physical attachment is much beautiful in its expression than a love which is filled with attachment. And, this you'll have to experience it yourself. I can only say it here. So Bhagwan is saying here, I have got nothing left to be attained. That is probably one of the reason while I act, I am free. Bhagwan took care of cattle. He used to take care of cattle in such a way that from distance, when the cattle used to see Bhagwan coming, it is said that cow used to ooze out with milk. That was the kind of love they used to have for Bhagwan. I'm telling you, I cannot explain you in many things in words, the way Bhagwan Krishna lived here and went. Even gopis love, we may have heard statements about the love of gopis towards Bhagwan and the way Bhagwan took care of them and all those things. But trust me, I'm telling you, honestly, I'm telling you, we cannot even feel an ounce of that love by just words and all. It is something which is far above the world to experience and understand. It is said that gopis were very good in their daily duties towards their husband and children, even though their love, because their attachment was completely strong for Bhagwan. They were completely attached to God. So that is what Bhagwan is trying to say here. Bhagwan says, if I sit down, showing aspects of laziness, that I'm with inaction or anything, filled with laziness or something, then it will become a very wrong example for people to follow. And the thing is, all those people who are considered great in the society, please remember, people do follow them, people do imitate them. And in the eyes of people who are at my time, and the people, once I wind back my incarnation in this world, the physical form in this world, at that time also I will be considered, the greatness of mine and will always be spread in the world. Now you just think, in the Kali Yuga also, Bhagwan Krishna is so much dear to people. His name is so rampant around, and there are so many people who are dedicating their life to Bhagwan. Even today, I'm talking about. That is the level of greatness of the name of Bhagwan Krishna. Those who have heard his stories through Bhagavad and all, they get more devoted and more attached. But otherwise also, Bhagwan Krishna is a name which is so rampant and so popular in this world. I don't think we can compare those things at all. I told you in one of the sessions, probably the Delhi session, when I spoke about our Shruti Smriti Purana and Itihas, I said one of the aspects of what becomes history, Itihas, is the only two things which qualify to become our history is Ramayana and Mahabharata alone. Iti ha asa. Such thing has happened, and the ha happens for prasiddhau. but not everything which has happened becomes part of the history. Not everything which has, there are so many events which has happened, everything doesn't become part of the history. Only those things which becomes popular for a long period of time and impact a long generation of people only qualifies to become history. And Ramayana happened in Treta Yuga. Bhagwan Krishna's Leela happened in Dwapar Yuga. Even today, people are following Bhagwan Ram and Bhagwan Krishna. That is the level of popularity we are talking about. That is why Ramayana and Mahabharata are the only thing which qualifies to become history, not the ones we read today and all. The other things may be events, some bad, some ugly, some somewhat good, but can't become part of our history, so to say. History we have to identify with the correct thing. So Bhagwan says, all those people who have established themselves as great or seen by people as great in the society, remember they are all imitated. And in the eyes of people, I am considered great. That is why Jatu Karmanya Tandritaha. That is why without any aspect of laziness, without any aspect of action, I am seen as continuously set out into action more than any worldly people. I work more than any worldly people. It is said when Bhagwan used to be there in Dwarka, it's not that he left his sight on any part of the world. Bhagwan had no reason to participate with Arjun in the Mahabharata. Bhagwan knew that Mahabharata is going to be a very ghori kind of a war, a worse kind of a war. Bhagwan still decided to participate. Bhagwan could have sat idle. He should have told Arjun that, Arjun, I'll sit far in Dwarka and probably bless you from there. Why do you need me physically present there? But Bhagwan got into it. Bhagwan participated in it. Bhagwan decided to accompany Arjun in the war, even though the war is not supposed to be a good event at all. So, even today, people see when they give my example, they see how much action and I have done throughout the period of my incarnation. In case my behavior would have shown at any level that I am promoting inaction or laziness, as or people may get wrong example of me that I am promoting people to move away from hard work, not doing hard work, then remember, all the people in the world will start to follow my path. And all the people around in the world who look up to me, they will also start to propagate not doing hard work. Udyamhinta we call it. Now here in Bhagwan Shankaracharyaji's word, one Purva Paksha, one opposite side can raise those people who are not in sync with these ideologies and philosophies. Purva Paksha we call them, who are not completely in line with the teachings. Purva Paksha may stand up and say in Bhagwan Shankaracharyaji's word, if everyone would have been following in the footsteps of what has been showed by Supreme Consciousness Bhagwan Krishna, if everyone would have been doing action according to that, then all of us would have become God, isn't it? See, walking the path what Bhagwan has been doing, if all of us walk that path, we all would have become God by now, or we all should have become God by now. By taking up a body, or by taking up the incarnation or avatar, or or being present or seen in a human form, Bhagwan had what you call that, propagated his way of life. We call it Achar Samhita. His way of acting in this world, his way of fulfilling his duties, his way of his ideology of life, Bhagwan has made it popular. If it is already established that all the great people are followed or by the people living around them, everyone follows all the great people in this world, then the question should come is that this society should have already become a beautiful place to live. Why is this society still, why are there ugly aspects of society still present? Why are there ugly events still present? If everyone would have been walking the path of Bhagwan, the way he has lived, everyone would have been walking that path, this society should have already become beautiful. Well, if in this society where Bhagwan Ram had come and lived, why is this society so ugly even today? Why are there ugly aspects of this society visible even today? Why are there uglier sides of this society still present and even today? Now, the point to answer this thing is that one thing we should be very careful in listening. I told you in the last session also, Puja Gurudev said that never follow a living saint. Why? Because a living guru, a living saint, has to help a lot of people at varying levels of evolution to come up, uplift them. And everyone can be lifted from their level only. So even though the scriptural teaching in at broad level is common for everyone, that do good, be good, and all those things, but when you translate it into the real life, you have to translate it according to the level of people where they are in. Everyone is not at the same level of evolution. If everyone is not at the same level of evolution, one common teaching may not be adaptable by everyone in the society. So some people who are at lower level of evolution, if they develop right amount of devotion, dedication, and service towards a guru will make an attempt to go down to their level, to uplift them and explain them things so that they can be motivated to come up the curve. Remember one thing, every human being has got a possibility to improve. The only point is, do we have enough punya and grace and blessing of Bhagwan to reach the right source who can uplift us, or is our life filled with sins, so to say, and we have complete lack of grace and blessings, that wherever we go, we end up reaching or coming across wrong kind of people only. It completely depends on that. That is one of the reason, I'll tell you honestly, I definitely will propagate that do not leave a single opportunity of punya in your life. You won't know where it will take you. Why? When there is a problem, some people reach demands, even seeking help also. And some people without problem also come across very, very good people in their life. The difference we must notice. I told you, in this life, nothing is an accident. Everything has got a reason behind also. The only thing is, we have to wake up, we have to analyze, we have to step back and get into the subtlety of things to understand why things are happening the way they are happening. So yes, it is true that in this society Bhagwan Ram has lived here and gone, and this society, many people look up to Bhagwan Ram in terms of how to lead a correct life. That is correct, but still there is lot of ugliness left in the society even today. There are many bad and worse aspects of the society which are visible even today. There are many wrong things happening in the society even today. Why they are happening, we must get into the core of such things, and that is what I'm wanting to explain through this particular verse here. When we get into the depth of this, we will notice one thing, that whether we talk about the incarnation of Bhagwan in this world, right, in all the incarnation history, whether Bhagwan Ram or Bhagwan Krishna, or we talk about all the great saints who have lived life here and gone, all the great Mahatmas, great rishis who have come and lived here the life and gone, there are so many things in them which are worthy of following. So many good things in them which are worthy of following. And of course, when acting, there are things which have to be done, and at times, things, I would not use the word grossly wrong or some things, but may not be something to be followed blindly. There are things which they have to do when you act in the world. You come across every set of people here. But what happens is, all the good things in them, all the things which are worthy of being followed in them, they are not easy to be followed. Why? Because following them, adapting such good qualities in life, needs some amount of penance, tapasya. Okay, that is one thing we need to remember. We need to have certain other things to actually walk that path also. We need to have there is a demand for to develop up these things in us, to follow that path, the good path and the good deeds they do, or the good things they have cultivated. What are the things? First is, we need to develop and cultivate courage in us. We need to develop and cultivate self control in us. We need to cultivate and develop some amount of wisdom in us. There is a demand and to oh, demand to develop the capability to control our natural propensities, which have come in us, which have developed in us, which have become housed in us over the many lives we have lived earlier. We don't know from where which life we are coming, how our life in the past would have been. Our natural propensities, how one reacts to a situation, and there can be two levels of reaction to a situation. The natural level of reaction to a situation is coming out of our natural propensity. By seeing a small thing, someone becomes very angry and upset, because that is a natural propensity in somebody. And there are some people who even they are insulted also, they are able to move away from it. Though some people, even after a small level amount of insult or anything also, they give back also, but it continues to remind them in their intellect. It continues to be housed in their intellect and keep on being recalled in their memory every now and then, even though they have acted, they have given back, they have reacted to the situation, but it will still, I don't know why he said so. I don't know why. There are some people, even after not acting and not reacting also, they are able to move away from it. See, that is a natural, it's not something which is natural in all of us. We have to cultivate that. So, when we talk about all the great people, we see that, that they had all these things in them: courage also, they had self control also, they had wisdom also, they had the ability, the capability to control their natural propensities also. But sometimes this thing also happens, that at in great people, there are some things they have to do, for managing and living through the life. They have to do some things which are not supposed to be high in terms of action or reaction. And uh, it may not be according to the scripture also. But at there are things which are not according to the scriptures, may not be very high in terms of action or reaction, but those low things in a great man also. I'm saying low things, I'm only talking in comparison. It's not low as us, by the way. So those things which are not so great, or they do not amount to the greatness of the person, but they are normal actions or a little bit lower action, so to say. When and we start following them blindly, because even though they are not according to the scriptures, but they suit us according to our own culture and own vasanas. And we pick up those lower things and say that, no, the great man has only done it, so I will follow it that way. But the higher things which that person also has, I overlook them. Why? Because that requires hard work from me. That requires penance from me. I'll have to work hard to develop good things. No, these small things are easier. So man's natural tendency is to pick up the things which are easier. There are many people who say, no, when you give them work, they say, is there a shortcut to do this? Everyone is looking for a shortcut. You know, oh, our weakness sometimes we attribute it, that great man also did the same thing, so it's not wrong. And I try to prove or justify my weakness by giving the example of great man. He also did that. The other day I was sitting with Puja Gurudev. I'll give you one example of Puja Gurudev only here. Good that this example came here. Puja Gurudev was in Uttarkashi at some point in time. He came to know from some trustee or something that your brahmachari he, you know, is so, oh, this thing that he scolds us for everything, so to say. Puja Gurudev also, when he used to scold people, he used to take trip of the people properly. So Puja Gurudev wrote to that brahmachari that, I heard about your work. I just want to remind you that there is only one Swami Chinmayananda in this entire Chinmay mission. And that's all Gurudev wrote. Brahmachari thought, what did Puja Gurudev say? When did I act like Puja Gurudev or something? That is when they realized that probably, taking the cue of Puja Gurudev, that he also scolds. I am also scolding people left, right, and center without reason also. So, there are things which everyone who living in this world have to do in the passage of life. But the difference between us and great saints is we do out of attachment and ego. They do in complete freedom, free from attachment. They don't take that in and keep thinking over them and troubling them. Us is, we act also, we remember that thing also, and in that remembrance we do not have enough space in our memory to remember good things. That is our problem. So that's the difference between in great saints, great men, and us. When we see some weaker aspects, not the lower aspects, weaker aspects in the great people of the society, you are a great saint or someone, and there we see that there is no demand and for self control or wisdom. So what we do, and becomes easier for us to follow. So the first thing we will follow of that person is those weaker aspects, and this is something which is popularly seen in the society also. In our Vedas, as our great saints rishis have said, in Taittiriya Upanishad, there is an instruction given to the student. In Taittiriya Upanishad, the first Valli is called Shiksha Valli. In Shiksha Valli of Taittiriya Upanishad, this is an instruction given by a Acharya over there, by a Guru over there, and it comes, Pitru Devo Bhava, Matru Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava. Once he says all those things, the Rishi says, and it is the 20th mantra of Shikshavali, which is the Prathama Valli of Taittiriya Upanishad. Yani asmakam sucharitani, tani sevitavyani, no itarani. Only those things which I show you in my actions, which are higher in nature, which are superior in nature in terms of action, reaction, and way of life and all, those things you should follow. Those things are sucharitra. Sucharitra means the good aspects of my actions in the world, good aspects of my life in the world. You must follow only those, because while acting I meet all kind of people. I have seen with my gurus also, all kind of people come, and I'm so blessed by Bhagwan himself that I could come in close contact with my guru, and I stayed with him for some period of time, so I could watch watch him as in that, and I could see how he acts in the world. And I tell you, it was so brilliant. It was far above excellence. So and all those things which are superior side of their way of life, they demand self control in us to follow. They demand wisdom in us to follow. They demand hard work for us. We have to do tapasya to follow that path. All the good things which great people do, great saints do, it's not something you can easily walk through. Just heard it and walk. That is one of the reason, and why spiritual life, if spirituality, so to say, we call it, it's good to hear. Hearing itself need a lot of punya. Coming across as people who share that spiritual knowledge itself needs a lot of punya. But walking needs another level altogether. I'm going to come to that again. That aspect also will be spoken about in the Bangalore satsang when I come about I talk about Shraddha and other things. I'll come there also. So because why did a rishi has to say this in Taittiriya Upanishad? Because he got this fear in him, or he got this thing which struck his mind. I hope my disciples, my students, do not follow anything which are the weaker aspects of my my action in the world, because I have to act in this world. They should not end up following that. Sometimes what happens with us is we pick up only the weaker aspects and we start walking that, and we merrily think that we are following our guru, and all the higher aspects we completely omit them because they require hard work and all. Don't do that. When somebody lives a life, they have to do lot of things. I'm telling you honestly, I'm very small in this whole spiritual setup, so to say, but as part of interaction with listeners, I come across all kind of listeners. There are some who get scolded by me also, some who are taught a lesson by me also, some who are given lot of love and respect also. It completely depends on where they are. My purpose with them is only to uplift them from where they are. My purpose is not for attaching with me for a long period of time or attaching with me permanently. That is never the purpose. My only thing is, whatever are the lower aspects of their personality and act, like, which is actually stopping them from getting attached to God, or I can try to help them remove that. That is the unmarga pravritti nivaranam, and sanmarga pravritti, walking the correct path, correcting the ideology of people. So I have seen every guru doing that. They come across all kind of people. There are some people who, even after guru has become brahmaleen, they are able to lead a life of complete devotion to them and walk that path. uh, my guruji, I'll talk I'll share with you about him. There are people who are followers who are grahastha, and have been in a grahast life for a long period of time, but trust me, their level of knowledge is better than some of the brahmacharis and sannyasis. That is the level of some people I have seen who are followers of my guruji, who have been in. And my puja guruji used to address them: you have been a vedantin for a long period of time, you have been following the teachings for a long period of time, and I can and see that you are well read also. And it's not that you just read and come. There are people who have reflected and come also. I'm telling you, in the question answer session with my guruji, I always used to feel the what level of people are there to ask such questions when they used to pose a question to my guruji. When I was a brahmachari, I remember I used to feel they are far higher than us, in terms of asking their question. These questions, some questions do not even strike our mind also at times, because they have over a period of time trained them. So please remember, our spirituality, our Veda is not against any level of ashram, whether you are in brahmacharya, whether you are grahastha, whether you are vanaprastha, whether you are sannyas. All of us are eligible for scriptural knowledge. All of us are eligible for spiritual knowledge. All of us can work towards our vertical growth, but it depends completely what we choose in our life. So say here in Taittiriya Upanishad, Guru got little bit worried that I hope my students don't follow any kind of weak aspects of my action or weak aspects of my personality and start adapting in their life. To correct that, and a Guru himself mentioned in that, only look at the positive side and uplifting side of my personality. When I act, I may have to go through many things myself, but that doesn't mean that that are the things which are recommended by me, or that are the things which are propagated by me. Don't think that way. So here, that is what the rishi had mentioned here in the Taittiriya Upanishad at this particular mantra of Shikshavalli. Why this happens with us? Because following the weaker aspects of personality are little easy for us to do. There is not much of hard work required, there is not much of effort required to do that. Because they are easy to follow, sometimes people, it's coming from a great man, so might as well follow this only. The other ones are little difficult for me to follow, so I will follow the easier ones. So that is one of the reason of following these ones. Those aspects which are good aspects of the personality, following them is a little bit difficult. There is a little bit of difficulty in nature, which not everyone is able to put an effort towards, and not everyone and puts that much effort towards these things also. That is one of the reason. But remember, one aspect of this whole thing is that even if a person, now I'm marking my words, and listen to me very carefully here. when we start following a person, and we start to develop devotion and the attitude of service towards a person, and it's very difficult for us to follow the higher aspects of his personality, so we start picking up the lower aspects of the personality. But remember, the point is to be underlined and highlighted is that we are growing in love and devotion for that person, and in our service towards that person, that also has got some gain for us. What is the gain for us? That in our intellect there will be a value system which will be created. Okay, and that value system will slowly gradually pick up the power. And what that value system does is, when we sway into the wrong paths, or not those paths which are recommended by the scripture, we may end up doing it as part of our normal natural tendency or propensity, but inside us something will keep on pestering us that you did not do it right. No, that was not correct. You should not have done it. Something in us that will, keep on reminding us that if we do something wrong, that we did something wrong. And remember, this stopping which happens, or this, or pointing out which happens within us, one day it will pick up that much of power to help us not go wrong, or push us to walk the correct path or correct way of behavior. And that is one thing we need to remember. All the great saints or guru and Bhagwan, remember, they always used to have this aspect of their personality which was seen very much rampant, and that is the amount of courage they have. Even in adversities they had courage. Even in adversities they never lost their cool. And the best example which I picked up in the last session was Bhagwan Ram. Bhagwan Ram was announced that he's being coronated as the king of Ayodhya. One morning he was announced that he will be coronated as the king of Ayodhya, and the next day it is announced that he has to go for exile. Bhagwan's level of acceptance of this thing is absolutely same. There was no shake-up in his personality at all. Goswami Tulsidas ji had brought out that aspect of Bhagwan Ram in his Doha, in his Mangala Charana Shloka of Ramcharitmanas in the Ayodhya Kand. In one of the verses, Goswami Tulsidas ji says, Prasannatam yana gatabhishekatas न ममले वनवास दुःखतः मुखाम्बुज श्री रघुनंदनस्य में सदास्तु सा मंजुल मंगल प्रदा. This is what Bhagwan about Bhagwan Ram, Goswami Tulsidas ji had brought out in his Mangala Charan of Ayodhya Kand. That when the coronation was announced, it's not that Bhagwan was too happy, singing, going gaga over it, roaming around in happiness or anything like that. No, nothing. He was normal. And even when it was told to him that he has to go for exile for 14 years also, Bhagwan has no expression of sorrow on his face. Vanvasa Dukkata. Even when he was sent for or Vanvas or exile also, it was not that he was sad over it. He was not too happy when the coronation was announced. He was not sad when he was told to go to exile. See, that is the equanimity of Bhagwan Ram. So the thing we need to remember is, even if we follow the Guru like that, if we have the right amount of devotion in the Guru, one day that devotion will help us develop the capability to have self-control and stop us when we go the wrong path. And it means what? It will help us create a value system within us. And both Bhagwan and all the great men who had lived here, gurus and all it is seen in them that they used to have courage in their life, and they always have this faith in those people who follow them, their devotees or disciples or student, that he's a dedicated student, I'm sure one day, for sure, this person will improve. Pujya Swami Sharananandji used to say, Sharananandji Maharaj used to say this, that when those things happen, when within us, when something happen which is not supposed to happen, and we have sadness for that, we become sad for that, we become disturbed for something which has happened by us and which was not supposed to happen, or when that which we should do, we ought to do, and we do not end up doing, and we have disturbance for that or become sad for that, remember, it is definitely going, this is a habit is definitely going to prove auspicious for you. When we have sadness for doing things which you are not supposed to do, and also along with that not doing things which you are supposed to do, when we have sadness for both these things, remember, it is definitely going to be auspicious for us. Why? Because it is definitely going to pave way path for our improvement in life one day. When these things do not disturb someone, do not create any disturbance or any amount of sadness in someone, remember, then within us there is some kind of shamelessness which will be developed, which will arise in such a person. And when our intellect does not feel sorry for these things also, remember, then the scope of improvement for such a person is very, very low. Only when we feel sorry for when we done something wrong or not doing something which we should have done, and we feel sorry for that, then only there is a scope for improvement in us. Remember one thing, through satsang, it is sure that we will gain. Whether we gain something in today in terms of adapting in some values immediately, or by placing something as a value system of life in us to be followed later on, the gain of a satsang is surely there. Now I'm telling you honestly, all of those people who are listening to podcasts, and are regular listeners of podcast, how much you are able to follow or not follow is not so much important right now. But if you have interest in listening itself, and you have interest in satsang, going and attending satsang and all, remember, you have really had the right choice. You have paved the way to gain in your life. Whether some things, the things which you listen there, the good values which you listen there, whether you are able to adapt them immediately into your life or not. But remember, if you are not able to adapt them immediately into your life, be sure that they are coming and residing in your intellect to create something called a value system of your life, which will come into force very soon. It will start becoming so forceful, it will start gaining strength to start leading your life correctly. That much path you must have paved already. In India, especially Bharat Varsha, so to say, I would use the word Bharat Varsha more than actually India. In Bharat Varsha, remember one thing, that everyone, even though Bhagwan Ram is the soul of this country, soul of our country, he is sitting in the core value system of our country, but not all of us are able to develop the way of life or walk the path what Bhagwan Ram has shown us. Not all of us are able to lead that kind of a life. But for most of the people in this country, remember one thing, in the value system which we have, some aspects of value system we have are coming from Bhagwan Ram's life only. Why? Because Bhagwan Ram is the soul of our country. When that Ayodhya Ram Mandir came up, it is not about anything else. It is about building the temple for the soul of this country. Our culture stands with that. Our culture emanates from that. That is something we need to remember. Bhagwan, Supreme Consciousness Bhagwan Krishna says If through my actions in life, the way I lead life, if that becomes a cause for wrong value system to reside in people, well, or it becomes a cause, it becomes a reason for people to justify their weaknesses, then remember one thing, they are not going to gain from my incarnation at all. So if I do not continuously act, then by my inaction or my laziness bound on way of acting, people are going to get wrong cues and they are not able to gain in from my incarnation at all. And with those kind of actions of mine, there will be a kind of confusion which is as set up in the society, which is established in the society, and I will become the cause of that confusion. And a man who is deluded or confused, who's for such people who get deluded and confused with that kind of an action, they will not come to know that they will not be able to identify whether they are an adhikari of Sankhya Yoga or Karma Yoga, whether they should walk the path of Karma Yoga or whether they should walk the path of Sankhya Yoga. They won't be able to identify because they won't come to know. And it is quite possible that in such a scenario, oh, even though that person is eligible to follow the path of Karma Yoga, his eligibility is for Karma Yoga, oh, this kind of a thought process resides in his intellect that he looks down upon Karma Yoga. And why? Because great people will have actually put down Karma Yoga. Now, if somebody, because I told you in the last session also, sometimes the sannyas ashram, sannyasis did this mistake of looking down upon action, and Bhagavan is going to pick up that aspect in the next verse. That don't do that at all. In the next verse, Bhagavan is going to highlight that aspect. When we become teachers of scriptures in the society, we have a great responsibility on our shoulder. It is very important for us to see what we are talking. We should not talk something which creates confusion in the society. We are here to resolve the confusion in the society. Now, rather than resolving the confusion in the society, if we only become the proponents of confusion in the society, then we have actually done a wrong thing for the people. That is not correct at all. So Bhagwan says, those people who are eligible for the path of Karma Yoga, they will start to look down upon Karma Yoga. Why? Because great men or great saints in the society had put down Karma Yoga in their talks. And whatever eligibility we have for whichever path, remember, if we do not get at the thought of having importance for that particular path, or we start to look down upon that path, then remember, it will become one of the reasons for us to go down on the path of vertical growth, so to say. So we need to remember those things. And this kind of confusion can be on the other side of that also. Those people who are eligible for Sankhya Yoga, okay, those people who are eligible for Sankhya Yoga, they also won't be able to identify whether they should do Karma Yoga or whether they should do Sankhya Yoga. So it is important for all those people who are eligible for the right thing to be told the right path. And Bhagwan says, through my action, I'm letting them know that even if though I am an adhikari, I am eligible for the Sankhya Yoga, but I am doing action day in and day out, so that all those people who are eligible for Karma Yoga also look up to me, and those people who are eligible for Sankhya Yoga also look up to me and do continuous action. What is the level of confusion which could be there? One of the things, the way we can understand this confusion at the level of society will be that those people who are eligible for Sankhya Yoga, they are given orders that do Karma Yoga, and those people who are eligible for the Karma Yoga according to their level of evolution and or or who the right of whose is on actually pravritti marga, means the path of action, and they are the ones who are sitting, taking up nivritti marg, and they are sitting in the society doing nothing. This is the level of confusion we are talking about, and this is what is called Siddhanta Sankarya. Siddhanta Sankarya means admixture at the level of principles of life, admixture at the level of law of life, admixture at the level of thought process of leading a life in the society. So Bhagwan says, sometimes it is seen, such kind of admixture is seen in the society, that oh, one more level of this kind of this level of admixture is seen in the society, that those who are eligible for Sankhya Yoga, they are told to do Karma Yoga, and those people who are eligible for Karma Yoga, they are told to do Sankhya Yoga. One more level of admixture at the level of principles which is seen in the society is that sometimes this thought goes in the society that those people who are doing Karma Yoga, for Karma Yogi, Sankhya Yoga is not required at all. And both Sankhya Yoga and Karma Yoga are two independent paths, and both of them do not require each other at all. And this is some another level of admixture of thoughts which becomes rampant in the society, whereas Bhagwan has made it very, very clear through his verses in chapter 2 also, that Karma Yoga is going to finally culminate you into the Sankhya Yoga, will make you eligible for Sankhya Yoga, and it will lead you to the Sankhya Yoga path. So from the purpose of doing Karma Yoga is to make you eligible to take over Sankhya Yoga, or lead the path of Sankhya Yoga whenever you are ready. Bhagwan says is, at our level, it is very imperative and important that such message should not go into the society. Such message should not go into the society, because of which confusion is created at the level of action and working in the society. Once at the level of it could be, we can say it at the level of thought, or at the level of principles or law of life, if such kind of confusions are created, that will lead people to become effortless. It will lead people to drop efforts, and that will become one of the cause for destruction of the society. And if that happens, it will prove me to be one of the cause of that destruction of the society. And I have incarnated in this society, I have incarnated in this world to what you call that, reset dharma or re-establish dharma, and that is one of the reason of my incarnation. And when I said that, no, dharma sansthapanarthaya, because to re-establish dharma in this creation. Why? Because dharma is the dharma becomes the axis for running this whole creation. Dharma becomes the sole thing which runs about, or moves this creation correctly. So if I continuously engage myself in action, and then if I continuously engage myself in action, that will become one of the reason to motivate people correctly. But if I myself do not engage myself continuously in action, then the reason of me coming here or taking incarnation to bless people, that will not, or prove itself at all. Rather, it will become the reason for me, I'll become the cause of destruction of people. Even though I have nothing left to be achieved in this creation, still I am continuously engaged in action, so that people get the right indication. That is why, O Arjun, loka sangraha mevapi sampashyan kartum arhasi. Here Bhagwan is trying to actually culminate his teaching, or his promise statement, which he has taken up in the verse number 20. Then Arjun must have asked Bhagwan, all those people who are men of great wisdom, who are jnani, so to say, how do they do, who serving the society through their loka sangraha, or nourishment of the society? How should they act? And what is the secret of this loka sangraha? For that, Bhagwan is trying to give the next particular verse. So we'll read the verse number 25, and I'll read the bhashya of this verse, and then we'll take up the meaning. Verse number 25, chapter 3. Bhagwan says, Sakta karmanya vidvamsah yatha kurvanti bharata kuryad vidvams tatha saktah चिकीर्षुर्लोक संग्रहम सक्ता कर्मण्य विद्वांसः यथा कुर्वन्ति भारत कुर्याद् विद्वांस्तथा सक्तः चिकीर्षुर्लोक संग्रहम. So I'll read Bhagwan Shankaracharya's bhashya, but before I read his bhashya, I'll read the connecting bhashya, where what Bhagwan Shankaracharya is written, connecting verse number 24, 22, 23, 24 to verse number 25. Bhagwan Shankaracharya says, Yadi punaha aham iva tvam kritartha buddhihi atmavid anyah va tasya api atmanah kartavya bhave api paranugraha eva kartavya iti. If like me, you or all those people who have reached the level of fulfillment in their life, in the way of expression of their gratitude, all those people who have already gained in the self knowledge, man of realization, I'm talking about, or as an expression of their gratitude towards supreme consciousness for this particular knowledge, if they do not end up doing their duty of blessing the society with the knowledge they have gained, with those aspects which have made them reach here, then what happens? Then this the way of Loka Sangraha won't happen. For that, Bhagwan is giving the next particular verse. So what it means is, all those men of realization, and as a way of expression of their gratitude towards Bhagwan, their Guru and Supreme Consciousness, it becomes their duty by of what, or doing continuous action as a blessing on the people around them, to bless the people around them, as part of service to the society, as part of nourishment of the society. They must continuously engage in action, even though they've become man of realization. Now Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji, in his bhashya for this particular verse 25, he says, Saktaha karmani asya karmanah phalam mama bhavishyati iti kechid avidvamsah yatha kurvanti bharata कुर्यात विद्वान आत्मविद तथा असक्तस्सन तद्वत् किमर्थम करोति तशृणु चिकीर्षुः कर्तुम इच्छुः लोक संग्रहम. Another brilliant verse of Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji, brilliant bhashya of Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji explaining this particular verse. Now Supreme Consciousness Bhagwan Krishna addresses Arjun as Bharat here. Arjun, you are born in the lineage of Bharata. You are Bharatvanshi prince. Arjun, you represent India. You represent Bharatvarsha. You see, that is what I was saying. It becomes easier for me to use the word Bharat because I'm going to bring up the meaning of word Bharat here. India, I do not know how to take out the meaning of that word. Probably, some people coined that word name for our country, but actually our country is Bharat. Now, the meaning of this word Bharat is Bhasi Ratah iti Bharat. Those who desire of light. Light means who are desirous of light. Light means the light of knowledge I'm talking about. Those who are desirous of the light of knowledge, or those people who revel in the light of knowledge. Those people, it is filled with people. It's a country of people who desire of the light of knowledge, or who revel in the light of knowledge. Okay, so that is the meaning of the word Bharat. So Bhagwan Krishna says, Yatha saktaha avidvamsah कर्माणि कुर्वन्ति तथा कुर्यात्. The way those people who are filled with attachment, maha asakta, saktaha, who are filled with attachment, the way they are constantly engaged in action, in the same way, a man of realization, a man of study, wisdom must act with that intensity of action. So that is the way Bhagavan mentions here. Now what happens now? I should pick up this example to explain you a little bit in detail. There are two things here: vidvamsaha, avidvamsaha. Avidvamsa means those who have not gained the knowledge yet. That is the meaning of the word avidvamsa. Which knowledge? Not gained the spiritual knowledge, or not gained the self knowledge. They are the one who are coined by this word called avidvamsaha by Bhagavan. And vidwan are those who are men of wisdom, or men of study wisdom, or men of realization. You can call that way. Now, when one has not gained the self knowledge yet, not experienced the self knowledge yet, now at that point in time, meaning what? One has not attached to the higher aspect of life called the self or God. Then what happens? I just told you in the quote of Puja Gurudev also, they are filled with attachment to the lower aspects of life, or the worldly aspects of life. Let me say that way. Okay. Now, remember one thing. One thing, since I'm using this word, I must also bring out, certain class of people, even though they have not gained knowledge yet, self knowledge yet, they have not gained the self experience yet, but they are not completely filled with attachment also. So there are some kind of people like that also. Okay, those people who are vidwan, men of wisdom, they will surely be free from attachment, and because they're attached to the higher, they're free from attachment to the lower aspects of life or the worldly aspects of life. Now, it is not necessary that those people who are not who have not gained knowledge yet, all of them are completely filled with attachment. It's not necessary. Remember, sometimes even though somebody is not knowledgeable also, they may not have too many attachments. They are not too attached to things. Why? Because sometimes, due to the abundance of tamas in someone. Now, hear this very carefully. Sometimes when we have abundance of tamas in us also, at that point in time, we do not have too much desires in life. Why? Because of the abundance of tamas, we don't want to work hard. We want an easy life. We don't want to put too many efforts into something. We do not have too many desires, too many achievements to gain in life. We call it mahatwakansha. He doesn't have too many achievables, too many high levels of achievement in life. He doesn't look up to life with trying to run after great achievements. Why? Because of the abundance of tamas in that person. Not that he's a man of realization yet. Remember that. Because of abundance of tamas in this person is not too much ambitious at all. He does not have too many things to look up to. He does not have too many desires, so to say. He does not have too many aspirations in life because of abundance of tamas in this person. So remember, he's not gained the self knowledge yet, but this abundance of tamas is the reason for or not having too many ambitions or aspirations in life. Now, Bhagwan is not talking about these kind of people. Bhagwan is referring here to those people who have not gained self knowledge yet, but they have ambitions in life, they have aspirations in life, they have the right amount of intelligence also, and they know also well that by doing which work, by putting effort to which part of work, they will gain success. And you know and in front of such people, those opportunities do come also, and this person gets drowned in them and gains the required success in life. Bhagwan is referring to such people. In front of such people, whenever the right opportunities come or arise, this person jumps over it, takes that opportunity and uses that opportunity with his 100% focus and effort. And remember one thing, such person is able to make a positive impact to his life, to make himself or him wealthy in life, make himself popular in life. Why? Because there is a deep desire in him to become wealthy, to become popular, become well known, and he puts the right amount of effort in that direction. And since he puts his focus and attention to that, at keeping the achievable in mind, keeping that what he has ambition towards, this person works day in and day out, day and night. This person puts an effort, and in his action, and you will see the humility also and all those positive qualities which are required to make him success. This person has got ample amount of forbearance, titiksha also, and this person has got deep attachment towards his ambition, towards his goal, towards those aspects which he wants to create in his life, surrounding situations which he wants to create in his life through gaining success in the effort, by gaining that ambition. So the attachment, deep attachment, pushes this person into action day in and day out. Hey Arjun, if you are someone who really wants to do loka sangraha, wants to help towards nourishment or serving this society, so you must act the same way as a man who is filled with attachment, the category I spoke about now, who continuously sets out into action. You must act more or than a person and acting in the world who is filled with attachment. But remember, the only thing which you should bear in mind is that your motivating factor should not be the attachment. Your motivating factor should be nourishment of the society and people around you. And not only that much, you should put the same amount of effort, same amount of force, same amount of hard work which a person filled with worldly attachment does, if not more than them. But your purpose should be, your focus should be only serving the society around you. And for that, you should act, become, remaining free from attachment. Such a desire for, or nourishing the society or loka sangraha, keeping such a desire in mind of loka sangraha or nourishment of the society, a man of realization and free from attachment is continuously engaged in action, and he or she, a person of realization, is continuously engaged in action. And when you see it externally, you will feel his level of action and hard work is much more than a man filled with attachment and working in the world, filled with ambition and filled with selfish desire working in the world. The only question is about the inner setup of you, whether your motivation is free from attachment or it is filled with attachment. That is the only fact you have to look inside and see. Now the question which may arise is, if someone does not have attachment within them, if there is no asakti, where will the motivation to work come from? Because the driving factor for us to push into action is actually the motivating factor which pushes into action is our attachment only. Bhagwan says this person is desirous of loka sangraha, of nourishment of the society, and that becomes his motivating factor. For others, the motivating factor is our own desires. The motivating factor is our own attachment. This person's motivating factor is the desire to serve the society, to desire to serve his God by way of serving the society. This person works for happiness of God. He works as a devotee of God. Now, if you really take up the history, you will see that all the great saints who have been there in the society, who have lived, served, and gone, they had worked much more than people filled with attachment. They have their efforts had doubled. Their efforts were more than double of the people who have done filled with attachment. And whether you take the example of Pujya Gurudev, whether you take the example of all the greats, Swami Vivekanand ji, Swami Ramakrishna Paramhams, you take any example, Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi, I can give you so many umpteen examples to talk about. Their motivating factor has been very different from each other, and they have lived this verse what Bhagwan has mentioned here. And because they have lived this world like that, they have contributed to the society, they have blessed this society, they have uplifted this society. And those people are the one who have actually made the correct effort to uplift this society. That is one thing which we need to know about them. And it says here, through them only this society has been nourished and this society has been protected. Some more examples I can give of people who have stepped aside at their deep selfish interests and desires to serve the society. Two such example I can give you is Gandhi ji and Madan Mohan Malviya ji. So they are also the people who have actually served the society above their personal interest. And from them only this is established that Loka Sangraha Chikirshu Tatha Kuryat. That is what Bhagwan has to say for verse number 25. I'll read Pujya Gurudev's commentary on verse number 25 before we move into the verse number 26. As a commentary for verse number 25, first Puja Gurudev connects the 24, 22, 23, 24 to 25 and says, suppose on the other hand you Arjuna think, or for that matter any other man thinks, that one who has achieved his goal of self-realization, even he should work for the welfare of the others, although for himself he may have nothing more to achieve or gain. For that Bhagwan is giving this particular verse number 25. Now Puja Gurudev says in his commentary on verse number 25, it is very well known that all of us act in our own given fields of activities with all enthusiasm and deep interest all day through, every day of the year and all through the years of our entire lifetime. An average member of society is seen to wear himself out in the strain of constant activity. Irrespective of his health, careless of the severity of seasons, through joy and sorrow, man constantly strives to earn and to hoard, to gain and to enjoy. Here, Krishna says that a man of self-realization also works in the world with as much diligence and sincerity, tireless enthusiasm, and energizing joy, burning hopes and scalding fears as any ordinary man striving in the competitions of the marketplace. The only difference between the two is that while the ignorant acts and is motivated in his actions by his attachments and anxieties for the fruits, a man of godly intentions or complete perfection will work in the world without attachment, only for the purpose of the redemption of the world. This subtle difference between the activities of the wise and the ignorant may not strike the modern reader as very important unless his attention is directed towards its universal application. It is the anxious desire for the fruits that dissipates the finer and nobler energies in the worker and condemns his activity to utter failure. No doubt, even a man of God, when he acts, must bring into his field of activity his own mind and intellect. The mind can function only when it is attached to something. It cannot remain alive and yet detached from everything. Detachment of the mind mentioned here is only its detachment from the false, irresistible fascination for objects, and this is gained through the process of attaching itself to the nobler. Thus, when Lord Krishna says here that the wise man should work without attachments, he immediately indicates how this can be achieved. He advises Arjuna to act desirous of guiding the world, Loka Sangraha. Attachment becomes a clog or a painful chain on us only when it is extremely egocentric. To the extent we work for larger schemes to bless a vaster section of humanity, to that extent the attachment loses its poison and comes to bless the age. Many poisons serve as medicines in their diluted form, while the same in a concentrated form can bring instantaneous death. The ego and egocentric desires bind and destroy a man, but to the extent he can lift his identifications to include and accommodate in it larger sections of the living world, to that extent the attachment gathers an ethical halo, a divine glow, and becomes a cure for our subjective pains and imperfections. Here, the practical method suggested is that Arjuna should work unattached to his own egocentric, limited concept of himself and his relations. And he must enter into the battlefield as a champion fighting for a cause noble and righteous against the armies that have come up to question and challenge the deathless values of higher living as propounded and upheld by the Hindu culture. That is what Puja Gurudev has to say for his commentary for verse number 25. Now we'll read the verse number 26. We'll take up the meaning of this particular verse. Bhagwan, we'll read the verse first, and then we'll take up Bhagwan Shankaracharya's Bhashya and we'll take up the meaning from there. Before I read this verse, I'll read the connecting Bhashya of Bhagwan Shankaracharya, connecting verse number 25 to verse number 26. Bhagwan Shankaracharya says, एवं लोक संग्रहम चिकीर्षोः न मम आत्मविदः कर्तव्यम अस्ति अन्यस्य वा लोक संग्रहम मुक्त्वा ततः तस्य आत्मविद इदम उपदिश्यते. In this way, all those people who are desirous of working towards the nourishment of the society or serving the society to uplift them, for example, like me, Bhagwan himself, or the other men of realization who have lived in this world, for such people there is nothing else which is their duty apart from protection and nourishment of the society, to explain that at what these people, what a man of realization should do. To give that advice is why I'm giving this particular verse. So Bhagwan says to Bhagwan also and to the man of realization also, there is no other duty apart from serving the society by uplifting them, and apart from that there is no other duty left for them. That duty remains with them, even though it is not so much, so to say, as a duty as the other duties, but it is definitely one of the things which are there as a duty for all those people who have gained the knowledge. For that Bhagwan is giving this particular verse. I'll read the verse number 26 first. I'll read the Bhashya and then we'll take up the meaning from there. It's a very important verse and Bhagwan is highlighting a very good point here. Bhagwan says, न बुद्धि भेदम जनयेत अज्ञानाम कर्म संगिनाम जोशयेत सर्वकर्माणि विद्वान युक्तः समाचरन्. न बुद्धि भेदम जनयेत अज्ञानाम कर्म संगिनाम जोशयेत सर्वकर्माणि विद्वान युक्तः समाचरन्. भगवान शंकराचार्य जी ने इस भाष्य से बुद्धेः भेदो बुद्धि भेदो मया इदं कर्तव्यं भोक्तव्यं च अस्य कर्मणः फलम् इति निश्चितरूपाया बुद्धेः भेदनं चालनं बुद्धिभेदः तम न जनयेत् न उत्पादयेत् अज्ञानाम् अविवेकिनां कर्मसंगिनां कर्मणि आसक्तानां आसंगवतां किम तु कुर्यात् जोषयेत् कारयेत् सर्वकर्माणि विद्वान् स्वयं तद एव अविदुषां कर्मयुक्तः अभियुक्तः समाचरन्. A brilliant verse by Bhagwan Krishna. Again, one more brilliant verse by Bhagwan Krishna. All the verses of Bhagavad Gita are brilliant. If somebody asks me to pick up few verses to say, I say that none of the verse in Bhagavad Gita can be left out at all, because it's a continuous teaching. So Bhagwan says here, Hey Arjun, O Arjun, those people who do serving this society by way of nourishment of the society, or their efforts towards nourishment of the society, they must keep this thing in their mind. They must keep this statement in their mind. What is that? What is the thing they need to keep in their mind? Those people who are ignorant at the moment, do not create further confusion or doubts in their mind. Do not disturb their mind with adverse teachings, or teaching them wrong things, or putting them down what they are doing. It's very, very important. Remember, they are ignorant. That is because of their ignorance, they are attached to karma. They are karma sangi, means they are attached to karma. The meaning of the word karma sangina here, Bhagwan says that they are completely attached with action, because they are ignorant at the ignorance. Because of the ignorance only, their attachment to action is there. And in their mind, at the moment, it is clear, there is a clear line of thought or vision in their mind that this is my duty and this is something which is enjoyable by me, and whatever duties I do, whatever actions I do, whatever fruits arise out of that action, that belongs to me, and on that I only have the right to enjoy them, and I can decide to share that with people. So what arises of action? From from action, whatever popularity comes, whatever goodness comes to me, whatever good things in life come to me, whatever worldly fruits which come to me, what arise out of my action, they should all come to me. It is normal, that whatever action I do, whatever fruits arise of that action by way of popularity, by way of wealth, by way of worldly achievements, they should all come to me. Now such a person, and such a person is called as attached to both action and the fruit of action. We call it karma sangi and karma phala sangi. We can call both ways. Bhagwan says, remember one thing, this society is filled in majority with such kind of people. Means majority of people in this society fall under this particular category. They all fall under this particular category. Majority of people in this society. Na buddhi bhedam janayet. Now you should not say, you should not propagate something which creates division in their mind, which creates division in their intellectual understanding. Now don't jump in and jump in, and it is especially set for all those people who are teaching scriptures, and especially all those who are sannyasis, and all it is said here, or all those who are spending their time as teacher of scriptures and all, guru, and all the acharya and all. Bhagwan says, do not jump amidst them and say, end up saying such statement that, action binds. Action binds. Do you know that? And action will force you to remain in the worldly cycle of life and death. While explaining the verse, I also ended up saying that you will see that, but that was to explain that particular verse. I told you at one place, Bhagavad Gita verses, never take them as a standalone. It is a continuous teaching. So, I told you Bhagavad Gita verses, Bhagwan has given Bhashya on Bhagavad Gita himself. Every verse of Bhagavad Gita is a bhashya on Bhagwan's verse only. So Bhagwan is trying to explain, yes, it is true that karma binds. Yes, it is true that, oh, because of karma we have to remain in the cycle of birth. But it is also true that we cannot live without action. It is also true that through action only we will be led into actionlessness. By giving up action, Bhagavan also said in his verses, giving up action is not something he recommends. You do not do that at all. Bhagavan again and again is repeating that. Actionless is not something which Bhagavan propagates. Yes, through action, Bhagavan is teaching us that you should act by way of using through the methodology of Karma Yoga. If you act using the methodology of Karma Yoga, it will surely lead you to be eligible to receive Sankhya Yoga. Bhagavan says, all those people who have self-knowledge, men of wisdom or men of realization, must not spoil the thought process of those people who are working and acting in this society. If people are ambitious, are aspirational in nature, you must help them promote their ambitions. You must help them and promote their aspirations. You must motivate them to fulfill their ambitions. You must help them fulfill their aspirations. You must promote it. Why? Because slowly only through our actions over a long period of time, this thing starts residing in us, the attitude of serving the society or acting for the nourishment of the society. Remember, we must remember one thing. It is especially for the man of realization, it is said, talk less and act more. Talk less, act wisely. It is very important that we must adapt this thing in life, that we must talk only when it is important for us to talk, only when it is helpful for the listener also and for us also. So remember, more than talking, our action is superior to that. Our action to be superior to what we talk should be in line with what we are teaching. Those things which whatever actions we are doing, and through our actions, people should get motivated, should get get a push, a kick to work more. And only when people act, that is when, only through actions alone is the way to move away from tamo guna to rajogun. From tamas to rajas, we can move only when we act. Through our actions we get maturity in our behavior, maturity in our nature. Through our actions only we become mature in our behavior and action. That is why we must act to gain that maturity in our acting in this particular world. So while promoting actions or while motivating people to act, we must say that through actions, whatever maturity is gained by a person, by acting, you will also gain that. If you stay away from action, now all those people who stay away from action, whether they end up doing, how much amount of japa, penance or study, remember, they will not be able to gain the maturity in their behavior. They will not be able to gain maturity in their action. Their sadhana, their efforts of devotion may be good, but their act in the society will be completely against it, will be completely unpolished, will be completely, not good in terms of people. They will not be able to work on controlling their natural propensities which push them into action. Because how will you control unless you act? Through act you are polishing yourself also. Through act you are developing an attitude to control your natural propensities, to drop the wrong ones and pick up the correct ones or learn the correct ones. Now remember, those people who are not acting much, remember, they are not able to work with a lot of people together. They are not able to work together in a group of or a team of people. Remember, through action, and when you act continuously in the world, or through actions, you will know that a man who's continuously acting in the world is not made up of iron or stone. Rather, he paves way to become like water. Why I picked up that example? Because you water, what happens? Steel or a stone is so solid that it wants others to adapt according to it. It won't change. Whereas water, whichever vessel you keep in it, it will take the shape of that vessel. It doesn't have its own thing at all. It adjusts itself wherever it goes. It's a attitude, it's a habit we must cultivate. It's a nature we must cultivate. So what happens is big, like water, this person adapts wherever he goes, wherever he acts, whichever place or whichever situation he has to act, he'll maneuver himself according to that. He'll manage himself according to that. He'll adapt himself according to that. Now, one thing we all need to know in life is that which kind of people will come in our life, which kind of situations we have to face in our life. No, none of us have any control on that, and none of us decide those things at all. We cannot choose those things at all. I told you, even after having listeners who reach out to me, I also come across all kind of people. I don't control who reach out to me, but yes, through my actions, I can decide who to keep with me and who not to keep with me, who to correct and who not to correct also. I don't go up correcting everyone. I do who give one chance, but and then move on, because that's not my role at all. I don't have too much time availability with me to spend on everything. And I don't have the responsibility of correcting everything in this creation. The responsibility of correcting in this creation for me is only about myself. That's all. So, we do not have an option to choose those things which come in our life, or people in who come in our life. But we definitely have a choice to pave our way through whatever comes in our life. Whosoever comes in our life, whichever people, whichever situation we face in our life, we definitely have a choice to pave our way. We can't make everyone ours. We must know that very well. I'm telling you, great saints also who have lived here, served the society, and gone through their experience, and also we come to know that not everyone you can make favorable to you, not everyone you can make yours. Don't even waste your time on such things at all. Well, you must definitely work towards establishing what you have understood as right in your life, continuously polishing your actions, your behavior, your reactions in life, developing courage in life, growing above praise and insult in your life. I told you in one of the podcast earlier ones, I told you, if you accept praise, you will have to accept insult also, because man apman is a pair of opposite which will go together. You can't say that I will only keep respect, and disrespect I will not face. You cannot do that. You'll have to keep both. So we must develop the capability of our intellect, through actions, to move above all these things. So remember, in our all of our life, action teaches us a lot of things. And also, I'm telling you honestly, Bhagwan in none of his teachings is against action filled with desires. Sakam, he's not against sakam karma. He's not against actions and filled with desire. But Bhagwan is making very clear that yes, you must try to grow above them, grow with actions, grow through them. That is what Bhagwan is saying. Here Bhagwan makes it very clear rather than, and swaying people from the path of action, rather than creating doubt in the mind of people to act in the world, rather than creating confusion in the people for the path of action, you must promote them, you must motivate them to act. Your act should be such that it should become a way to uplift people around you. For a man of realization, a man of self knowledge, remember, must do some acharan, must do good actions in the world, so that people who look up to them also see them in that light, and they also end up following that. They also, when a great saint acts through them, they also know that irrespective of the situations which came in their life, you see how they reacted to those situations. I gave you some example before also. Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi had cancer, in his underarm portion. He was not crying and all. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa had also had cancer. Puja Gurudev had heart problem. His heart was running at a very small percentage of heart was functioning, but he was tirelessly acting. He was tirelessly reaching out to people. He was tirelessly uplifting people. So through their reactions towards the situations which come in their life, Puja Gurudev used to say in his talk also, he said, shh, don't say loudly that my heart is weak. My mind should not listen to it. That is how they used to act in their life. That is how they reacted in their life towards situation which came in their life. So their reactions to different things teaches people who follow them. When we see them, we know these are the people who are not bound, who are not completely overcome by the situations and things which come in their life. Irrespective of that, they are completely filled with action. At them we should come to know, we should come that we should be filled with a desire to know. We don't know who are there, who, on whom, on which kind of thing is their intellect dependent upon, who's their in which who is their intellect based upon, dependent upon, that they are not, what they don't fall down on in terms of reactions in whatever they face in their life. They never feel pushed towards anything. And all those people who are completely filled with action in their life, this kind of a reaction and in life looks like a magic. It's like they find it as a magic that this man you see, for me, I am continuously into action, he's also equally into action, but situations don't make him worse. Situation don't make him fall down. I don't know what kind of a dependent factor he is upon, that it looks like a magic. What kind of a magic is this thing? And that kind of a magic actually motivates those people who are filled with action. The maturity of an intellect at such level is what Bhagwan is going to speak about in the verse chapter 6, verse number 22. Yasmin sthito na dukkhena guruna api vichalyate is what Bhagwan is going to say in chapter 6, verse number 22. And Bhagwan already has said in chapter 2, 15th verse, he said, no, yamhi na vyathayantyate purusham vyatayantete purusham purusharshaba. Now, the actual glory of a strong intellect or a strong wisdom is this only: to create such an intellect, such a strong intellect, that it is not under the control of any situations that arise in life. When we are able to develop up or carve out such kind of a equanimity of intellect, remember, the ones who notice us definitely sees this difference. I used to say that one guru told his disciple, when disciple asked, why are you not this that something he was raising to the guru. So guru said, I just want to ask you one question. You and me both are in human body. Do you see any difference between you and me? The disciple or the student was forced to think. He said yes. Now go back and think, why is that difference and where is that difference coming from? So that is what motivates even the people who are filled with action. those people who are around us definitely sees all this and gets motivated by this. They start thinking, how are they able to live like this in their life? You know, in how are they able to carve out such kind of reactions in their life? How are they able to develop such thing that, and why are we impacted by every now and then any situation, any small wind which passes us across by, we get impacted and we fall down, and some days of productivity is gone. Why are we such? What is that which makes them different? In the life of such people, even the most difficult situation also, the most difficult pair of opposites also, they're able to easily cross through them. How are they able to do that? How are they able to pass through it? Then in the intellect of such people, there is a kind of respectful thought or thought of gratitude which starts to develop for such people. And then, and slowly, gradually, you know it this gratitude and the attitude of service, which is a respect which develops in the mind of people who look up to such guru and all, there is a kind of capability which starts to develop in the mind of such people, that where they can slowly, gradually start to understand different aspects of life, and create space for receiving teachings in life from such people. you know First day, don't go and give lecture. you know my guruji used to say to brahmacharis, first day, don't jump out and start teaching people. Rather, when you go and start teaching in people in the first day itself, the people who are following that ashram and all, they may come and say, stop your teaching, have bhiksha and go home first, and keep silence and keep quiet. It may give a completely wrong impression altogether. Bhagwan, Supreme Consciousness Bhagwan Krishna, here says it very clearly, that I'm not talking about any other kind of magic which are done by magicians in life. The real magic in life, which we must all notice and try to look up to, is that in difficult to difficult situation also, how we are able to grow above them without getting impacted, without getting derailed. The real magician in life is who has developed an intellectual capability and strength to not get impacted by the pair of opposites and extreme adversaries or situations which come in their life. And also along with that, gets a capability to not get carried away when too many favorable situations come in life. That much for today. Rest we'll see in the next session and in the next class. कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि, श्रीमन्नारायणायेति समर्पयामि। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। ओम तत्सत्।